Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be an if you like this TV show, you might like this book video. I got the idea for this video from Reads with Cindy. She did one just like this and I loved it, so this is not my idea in any way. I will link her channel down below, but I wanted to do my own take on it as well because I thought it was really cool. Books are a very large part of my life. TV's also a very large part of my life. If you know me, I watch a lot of TV shows. Chances are, if I haven't watched the entire thing, I've at least watched the first few episodes of it. So, without further ado, let's get into it, because I don't want this video to be super long. These are in no particular order. They kind of range all over in terms of genres. And I'm not just recommending like entire series of books, but there's a couple of standalones, or at least first maybe books that might be made into a series, honestly, now that I think about it, I'm not sure. We'll see. So, number one is, if you like The Alienist, you might like the Stalking the Jack the Ripper series by Kerri Maniscalco. I've watched most of the first season of The Alienist, and it's got that really dark, creepy vibe, which is honestly all that I'm going off of here. Yes, there's a lot of books out there that have that dark, creepy vibe, but the Stalking Jack the Ripper series does get very creepy, but it tones it down enough that it is a YA series. If you don't know anything about it, you follow Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell. In the first book, they are students to Audrey Rose's uncle, who is I guess technically a medical examiner in London, as they try and solve the Jack the Ripper series of murders. It's very unheard of in 1800s London for a girl, especially one of her age, to be a student to this kind of career. She gets a lot of hate for it, but she doesn't really care what they say, and she just goes and does it anyway. That's the vibe that I kind of get from the main character of The Alienist, but it's also the vibe that I get from Dakota Fanning's character in The Alienist. She works at a police station. She doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. She deals with sexism on the daily of all of the cops that are around her, but she does what she has to do anyway. In that, I think that she and Audrey Rose are kind of similar. That's mostly where the similarities end, I'm not gonna lie. But honestly, if you like The Alienist and you want something that's not quite as dark but similar in tone, I would recommend Stalking Jack the Ripper. The next one is Once Upon a Time. So if you like Once Upon a Time the TV show, you might like the Fables graphic novel series by Bill Willingham. I've only read the first volume in this series, but I really like how they tie in all of these different random characters. Fables follows a bunch of different fairy tale characters that have been cast out of their fairy tale world and into our modern world, not by way of a curse like in Once Upon a Time, but by way of, I don't remember the bad guy's name, but essentially the big bad has completely taken over every single world, planet, country, whatever, in their world, and has forced them out. And so they are trying to make it in modern day Earth and deal with all of that. They have like a mayor. They are trying to govern themselves and mingle among the rest of the humans. In Volume 1, specifically, the big bad wolf is I think he's either the police chief for them? I'm not sure. He's a cop trying to solve one of the murders of these fables. And the first volume follows him as he works his way through that case, which is really cool. I love a good procedural on any day, in all honesty. Once Upon a Time, not a procedural, but I think that they have very similar tones in that they were cast out of their home planets, home worlds, whatever you would call it, and forced to live in modern day society on Earth. It's pretty cool. I love Once Upon a Time. I made it to season 7. I'm trying to finish season 7 right now. Honestly, I'm almost there, but I loved everything all the way up until season 6. I was living for Emma and Hook's relationship. It was so adorable. I think that these are pretty similar in tone. I can't really recommend the rest of the Fables series, but what I was getting from it vibe-wise, I think that if you like Once Upon a Time, you will like Fables as well. My next suggestion is, if you like Chicago Fire, you might like the book Consumed by J.R. Ward, which I own, but I'm not gonna hold up because I am lazy. If you don't know, Chicago Fire follows a firehouse in Chicago, kind of self-explanatory. You follow them and you follow the EMTs as they fight fires, and they kind of somehow get sucked into solving crimes along the way. I don't really know how that works out. They just kind of insert themselves into those storylines, but whatever. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of romance. There's a lot of humor. It's a great TV show. Once again, I have not finished it. I have a problem with finishing things. But if you like Chicago Fire, then Consumed by J.R. Ward. I have talked about it on my channel before. You follow Anne, who is a firefighter for like the first few pages of the book, because she is caught in a fire where she loses her hand. This obviously derails her firefighting career, so she, in a kind of midlife crisis sort of thing, not knowing what to do next, she actually becomes an arson investigator. Right as a bunch of deadly fires start to creep up across... Is it Chicago? Does this also happen in Chicago? Hang on, I need to check. Goodreads doesn't say. It might not be Chicago, but it takes place in some kind of city area. Anyway, her old firehouse kind of gets dragged into these fires as well, and she ends up working with a specific member of the firehouse that she kind of used to have a little bit of a thing with, trying to figure out who is setting these fires across the city. Maybe it's Atlanta. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They start to fall back in love, there's some betrayals, there's some, you know, other stuff that happens, obviously. They have very similar tones. If you like Chicago Fire, I really think that you're gonna enjoy Consumed. This is the one I was talking about. I'm really not sure if it's going to be a series. I feel like it is, but I haven't heard anything about a book 2, and this has been out for a year or so, maybe more. So we shall see. But I'd really like a book 2. I think it would be an interesting thing. My next recommendation is, if you like Supernatural, you might like Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendara Blake. I am a Supernatural stan. I did not watch it when it was on from the very beginning because I am a baby and it scared me. I think I was in middle school when Supernatural first came out, and those first few seasons were terrifying. Like, I don't do ghosts, guys. I don't do ghosts, and there were a lot of ghosts, and I just don't do that. I can watch them now with not really any problem, but at the time, it was not happening. Anyway, I followed Sam and Dean for a while now, and I'm pretty sad that it's ending, but, you know, it is what it is. So, if you like that, you might like Anna Dressed in Blood. In Anna Dressed in Blood, you follow a character whose name is, ironically, Cass. His father was murdered by a ghost, and he also hunts ghosts, and his mom is like totally behind it because she knew what his father did for a living. She supports him. They move across the country hunting ghost stories. I don't really know if you need anything else for me to recommend that to you if you like Supernatural. It's obviously a little bit younger in tone, but all of those ghost episodes from early Supernatural episodes, reading this felt like it should have been a Supernatural episode. Essentially, Cass moves to a new town, and in it he hears of a story about a girl named Anna who shows up at this haunted house and murders people. So he obviously tries to go and vanquish her, kill her, you know, whatever. Lots of other stuff happens. He makes some new friends that try and help him out. Some other people don't really make it through the rest of the story and are very, very horribly and graphically murdered. But yeah, so that's it. That's a Supernatural episode for you. So let me know if you have read Anna Dressed in Blood and you thought the same thing, because I just wanted to see Sam and Dean just drive in Baby and help Cass out with this, because boy needed it, let me tell you. My next suggestion is, if you like Criminal Minds, you might like any book that the author Karen Rose has ever written. She is a romantic suspense author, so I will say that if you don't like smut, and if you don't like heavy, heavy romance in your books, this is probably not for you. However, Karen Rose has written several series that are all interconnected, that span across the entire United States. She has them that take place in Cincinnati, Chicago, I think California is her latest one, Baltimore, and I think Atlanta. Probably another city that I'm missing in there, but you follow various characters that are tied to law enforcement or crimes in very different ways. They're all interconnected in some way. If you look deeply enough into every book, there is an Easter egg for you from a different book. It's great. I've read everything she's ever written. You've got arsonists, you've got serial killers, you've got cults, you've got rapists, it's all over the place in the way that Criminal Minds is. And the only difference is that you're not really following the exact same 5 people through every single story, but you are seeing the same characters recur over and over and over again. I don't really have any specific ones in this series to recommend to you. I love them all. Honestly, it's a good time. You know you're gonna get a happy ending, just like in most Criminal Minds episodes. I mean, I guess they're not always like happy because people still died, but like, you know, the team usually gets to go home at the end. So yeah, they're great romantic suspense. You know that you're going to not have to worry about your main characters making it through, which is always a relief to me. Like, I need to know in my romance novels that it was worth the time that I've put into them. And honestly, a lot of those suckers are like 500 pages long. Like, these are some hefty romance novels. While they do seem kind of formulaic at times, reading them, it always makes me feel comforted, I guess we'll say. Next is a series that I have watched part of the first season, and then it was taken off of everything, and I couldn't find it anywhere anymore, so I'm a little sad about that, because I did like what I saw. So, the next one is, but anyway, that series is if you like Lost Girl, then you may like The Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearn. I talk about Kevin Hearn probably in every single video, but it's fine. We all know that I love him. Lost Girl follows a succubus whose name I can't remember, and she tries to navigate being a supernatural being in a modern day world. I have no idea what city it takes place in, but I know that that's the general premise. She has a trusty sidekick that talks a lot and has a lot of funny quips and quotes. I think that she saved her life and that's how they came to be together. In the Iron Druid Chronicles, you follow Atticus O'Sullivan, who is a 2,000-year-old druid trying to run away from a god that wants him dead. He's been in hiding for pretty much 2,000 years because he stole his ancient mystical sword, and lots of stuff happens from there. It all cascades down. It's a pretty lengthy series, but it is amazing, and I highly recommend it to literally everyone. There is a dog in it named Oberon, who is an Irish wolfhound who talks, and he's delightful. I love the Iron Druid Chronicles. If you liked if you liked Lost Girl, you might like the Iron Druid Chronicles as well. Next is a show that ended way too soon for me, and that is Timeless. If you liked Timeless, you might like The Chronos Files by Rissa Walker. Timeless follows 3, honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you, this might be a stretch. The only thing that ties these together is the time traveling and the lightheartedness, I think, of all of it. But yeah, anyway, Timeless follows 3 characters, Lucy and Malcolm and the cute one whose name I can't remember. Anyway, they are trying to go back in time and stop this enemy from changing things that happened in history before it changes the future. Lucy is a historian, Malcolm is an engineer, and Wyatt is an army ranger, I think, so he's like their muscle as they go back in time. Honestly, it's delightful. They go back to all of these different periods. Lucy knows everything, and she's great. Malcolm is just hilarious, and Wyatt is super cute, and the thing that goes on between him and Lucy, just, ugh, so good. Anyway, if you liked the campiness of that, then Timeless by Rissa Walker, I think it's pretty not well known, but I guess I don't know. I found it on Kindle many years ago, and I binged through as much of the series as I could. In the Chronos Files, the first book is called Timebound, and you follow Kate, who is a teenager whose grandmother gives her a blue medallion and tells her to not take it off, and that it gives her the ability to time travel. Obviously, she thinks her grandmother's freaking nuts, but something happens and it shifts her entire reality, and she is the only person who knows what has changed because she has the genetic ability to time travel and is wearing this medallion. You kind of figure out with her what's going on, the rules of this world, but it has a very cute romance. It follows a lot of the same time travel tropes that you get in Timeless and many other time traveling things, I get that. It is a little bit younger, but Timeless was never super mature in content anyway. So yeah, I think that if you'll like Timeless, you'll also like Timebound and the Chronos Files by Rissa Walker. You see a lot of the same moments in history through both of them, and I think it's pretty cool. Next is kind of cheating because Pretty Little Liars was already a book series, But if you like Pretty Little Liars, which is also by Sarah Shepard, but I'm going with it anyway, then you might like the Truly Devious series by Maureen Johnson. I loved Pretty Little Liars. I'm really not even gonna lie about it because it is what it is. I mean, was it a good show? Absolutely not. But you have a bunch of irresponsible teenagers trying to solve things that they have no business trying to solve. Should they have gone to the cops? Yes, absolutely. A million times. Did they? No. Whatever. It is what it is. In Truly Devious, you follow the main character, who is a girl that goes to a boarding school in the middle of nowhere. This school is special because it kind of lets you major in whatever you want to major in. It is a high school. They kind of make up a curriculum to fit whatever you are good at. And this girl in particular is good at true crime. She loves researching true crime. She loves listening to true crime podcasts. She is very obsessed with truly devious murder mystery that happened at this school that she is now going to. So at the beginning of the school's foundation in like the 1800s or the early 1900s, the daughter of the school's founder mysteriously disappeared. Nobody ever found her. And all that was left was a note signed by Truly Devious, and nobody knows what happened. So she tries to solve it. She sticks her nose into business that she has absolutely no business sticking it into, and so do her friends. They make terrible decisions, in all honesty, but it was a great time. I am running out of natural lighting, so I'm gonna try and talk through these last two as fast as I can. So for the next one, if you liked The Expanse, which is an Amazon Prime show, I believe, you know what, it might also be a book series, so we're just gonna say I'm cheating for this one too. And this may be a stretch as well, but if you liked The Expanse, you may like The Illuminae Files. So The Expanse follows a group of characters that have somehow survived their entire ship. Was it blown up? It's been a while since I've watched the first season, but they are the only survivors on their entire ship. They get drawn into all sorts of crazy stuff, considering this is not what they trained for at all, and they find out that there is some kind of fungus thing that is being loosed, potentially by the government, on different worlds as an experiment. That could have been a totally incorrect description, I'm not gonna lie to you, but it is what it is, we're fine. If you liked that, then you may like The Illuminae Files by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. If you don't know what The Illuminae Files is, in the first book, Illuminae, you follow Katie and Ezra. They have just broken up on their home planet, and they are kind of dealing with the fallout of that when their home planet is attacked. The survivors of the planet are then evacuated to a ship. The lighting has changed, but that is okay, because your girl's card was full and it was getting super dark outside, and I only have one left to talk about. So, my very last one on this list is, if you like White Collar, then you will almost definitely like the Fox and O'Hare series by Janet Ivanovich and Lee Goldberg. So White Collar follows Neil, who is a lifetime con man, and he has made some very bad decisions, but he is very good at what he does, and he is enlisted by the FBI to help them track down other con men and solve a bunch of heists that they're trying to solve. It's delightful. It had a fantastic ending. Neil made some very questionable decisions throughout the entire series. It's true, but we love him anyway, because who doesn't love Matt Bomer? So, if you like White Collar, you will definitely like the Fox and O'Hare, because it is pretty much an exact White Collar ripoff. They don't even try and hide it, in all honesty. The only thing that they've done is they've made Peter Burke a woman. So you follow, I think her first name is Kate O'Hare, and Nick Fox, in the exact same situation. Kate O'Hare is an FBI agent, and she captured Nick Fox many years ago, but she needs his help in solving a crime. I don't remember what exactly it was, but he was a con man also, and they do the exact same thing. They get into heists together to solve whatever they're currently working on. I read the first 4. They were absolutely delightful. I think it's book 5, I want to say, that Lee Goldberg stopped writing for the series, and it totally changed the entire tone of the book. It felt like it was written by 2 completely different people, not just one. So I got The Big Kahuna and I DNF'd it, which, if you don't know me, is really crazy. I barely ever DNF anything. I will almost always push myself to the end. I DNF'd The Big Kahuna. They did so much character development in the first 4 books, and The Big Kahuna supposedly took place right after the massive cliffhanger at the end of book 4, and they talked about none of it. Not only did they talk about none of it, but all of the character and relationship development that they had done up until that point, totally gone. It was like you were back in book 1 again, and it was terrible. Will I go back and read that book again? Maybe. I honestly don't know. Enough talk about that. You will definitely like the first 4 books in the series. Hopefully. Maybe the Big Kahuna did wrap up that cliffhanger and I just didn't read far enough to tell you. So, you know, figure that out for yourselves. But if you liked White Collar, you will like its exact ripoff. So that is it for my if you like this TV show, then you might like this book. That's all I have for you today, guys, so I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!